So here we go. Welcome, Igniters. I'm Michelle Quevedo, and I wanted to tell you how excited I am that we have Dr. Jill Kahn for our interview today. But before we start with the interview, why don't we learn a little more about Dr. Jill? Dr. Jill Kahn began her journey as a holistic doctor chiropractor in 1983 and is still transforming lives and inspiring tens of thousands to live their best lives on all levels as a leadership coach and as a dynamic keynote speaker. Dr. Jill has transformed lives using powerful tools and methods embedded in a process she founded called the BioCode System. She has helped a diversity of patients and clients tackle a variety of challenges ranging from leadership and personal development to cancer diagnosis. Yet above all, she wants you to know that everything is right about you, which has turned into a movement launched from her Clubhouse platform called the Everything is Right About You Club, which grew from a membership of over 14,000 members to now a full-blown global movement. She is a celebrated author, a trusted coach to professionals in leadership, a sought-out leadership keynote speaker, and now as a featured guest on Ignite Your Essence Talk Show. Dr. Jill, welcome. Hey, Dr. Jill, how are you?
Hello, Michelle. I'm so grateful to be here on your platform. This is so exciting. So exciting.
Oh, yes. I was so glad that we were able to run about your accomplishments because now we get to delve deeply into the heart and mind of Dr. Jill Kahn. So thank you so much for showing up. Can we kind of get deep into it and delve into your life so that we can amplify you here on Ignite Your Essence?
Oh, that would be so perfect. So
Yay.
perfect.
Well, we have talked about, if any of you are following our social media on Instagram and also on Facebook, you'll have learned that Dr. Jill Kahn had started her career as a doctor, chiropractor, and holistic doctor in 1983. And from that, something pivotal happened in your life, right, Dr. Jill? You were helping other people, enjoying your life. Your husband was also is also a chiropractor as well. And in 1996, something happened. Would you like to share with us about that?
Oh, absolutely. It's interesting. I love to share my story because I believe we're all a story, and as our stories grow, we all grow along with it. And, you're going on your merry way and everything is going great until something happens. And when that something happens, it really does change the course of our lives. Most of the time in a very unexpected way. And, my origin story is I did start out as a chiropractor back in 1983, and I was ready to save the world one subluxation at a time. And I was very busy. I had a busy practice. I loved my life and so forth. And my husband, 10 years later, he decided that he wanted to be a chiropractor too. So here we have this beautiful holistic life and everything's going according to plan and two beautiful children. And we're so excited about life. And it was the turning point, the story where it takes that, sharp left turn, happened July 4th, 1996. And I live in Atlanta. And if anybody was around at that time, they know that the Olympics, it was the time the Olympics was coming to Atlanta. And we had just moved into this beautiful home and July 4th. And I took my young children, 2 and 5 at the time, to the swimming pool. My husband, Danny, decided to pick up a game of basketball with some friends. July 4th, it's a holiday, new neighborhood, meet friends. And he did. And I was at the pool, and out of nowhere, somebody comes rushing at me and says, Jill, come quick, it's Danny. I'm like, wait, what? Like, what are you talking about? Well, they swoop up my kids, take them away, and rush me over to where Danny was. And he was laying on the floor. He had had a grand mal seizure. He didn't know who he was. He didn't know who I was. They rushed him to the local hospital only to find out this. He has a malignant brain tumor, and they gave him about 5 to 7 years to live. Well, what do you do in a moment like that? We're all told to live in the moment, and nobody's trying to live in these moments. So At first you freak out. You're like, this is not my story. This is not my story. We're holistic. We're good people. We're save the world people. This is not our story. Well, I went to every white coat. I was calling them the white coats back then in the planet, and one after the other gave us the same diagnosis and prognosis. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And you know what? I'm a very holistic person. I know that there's an answer to every problem. And no matter what it is, there is something, there is a moment that could change that outcome. And I did have one of those moments, Michelle.
Wow. Could you describe that moment? This is a lot of pressure. For example, you're going to the white coats. You're trying to preserve the life of your husband and help to support him, as any good partner would do. What did that feel like when you were trying to just do your best here?
Well, I'll tell you what it felt like. It felt like panic. It felt like alarms were going off in my head 24/7. Like, this is not my story. This is no good. The adrenaline was running. And I was like, I know there's an answer. I just don't know what that answer is. But I knew that there was an answer. Just because one system didn't have the answer didn't mean that it didn't exist. And I had a background in holistic health. So anyway, I remember there was that one day, Michelle, and I was standing literally by the kitchen sink, and my energy had been 24/7 since it happened, like amped up trying to search, like that little thing on the computer that's going like this and it's stuck and it can't stop.
Little pinwheel, yeah.
Right. My energy was just so amped up because I was panicked. I was trying to find answers, and I was standing by the kitchen sink. And in a moment, literally from total chaos and panic, my body and mind went to instant, and I mean instant peace. I started crying. I looked at Danny and I knew. And I said, Danny, not only are you going to be okay, but we're going to help so many people as a result of that. And we decided to take it on. But, you know, taking on something that big is a lot. It's a lot, especially when you really don't know what you're doing. I mean, you know, who takes on something like that? And we decided to like bring it back to us and search for our own answers, because the answers that the choices we were given wasn't going to bring him life.
Right. You said that they gave him 5 to 6 years.
Right.
Yeah, that's more of a death sentence, not a life sentence. So
it is more of a death sentence. So something remarkable happened in those moments when we were trying to figure out how to navigate this holistically, which is an enormous amount of responsibility, because you're not talking about like a bad day. Like you said, you're talking about life and death. Right. So anyway, in those moments early on, what I started to feel myself was enormous pressure for myself. Like, what if you can't do this? What if he dies? What if it's your fault? Pressure from well-intended family and from doctors, like, just do what we say. The pressures were enormous. So I knew in order to navigate something this big and this serious, I needed to get strong within myself to be able to deal with situations and moments like this as we take on such a huge challenge. Now, what I didn't know is that I was developing an incredible skill set over those next 3 years behaviorally that ended up turning into a program that is now helping people all over the globe. And the good news to my story is Danny lived. He lived to tell the story. He's here.
That's always the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
How long did he live? Well, he's still living. Yay.
He's alive. And it was not easy. And that's where the BioCode System was actually birthed. And there's something very, very interesting that I found, you know, many years into, you know, helping people with this tool, that it's now a tool, is that it's not the big things, Michelle, that are taking people down, like I went through, as much as their day-to-day life. The stressors, the day-to-day stuff that's driving them crazy is depleting people more than anything, because there's a missing skill set. There's a missing tool of how do we meet moments, harder moments, when things aren't going according to plan. The ones that you don't raise your hand and say, like, I hope I get more of those, right?
Right.
But these moments where you don't know how to truly meet these moments from a place of strength, of mental clarity, of stability and objectivity. So now this program turned into a personal and leadership development program for children all the way up to the CEO to help people to learn how to exercise themselves no matter what they're dealing with, no matter who they're dealing with, so they can get stronger in any given moment. So good did come out of it eventually.
Yes. Well, yeah, you found your way to the good, it seems. That the question is about your BioCode system that birthed from this moment that really could have been the narrative, the final narrative of people's lives. Oh, Danny got cancer, and then dot, 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 dot. But you shifted that. The question is, the BioCode system, is that for the caregivers or for people like Danny who were diagnosed with cancer with not a really good prognosis and to move forward? Who uses the BioCode system?
Well, the BioCode system is for everybody because
Okay.
it's a behavioral exercise program that teaches any individual, no matter what age or stage you are, how to start to strengthen yourself real life, real time in moments throughout your day. It's honestly something that we should have all been taught day one because it's a missing skill set that everyone on the planet needs. Because, we all know what to do, truthfully, when things are going well. But who's teaching us what to do when things aren't going according to plan? So to have a practical, in the moment, real time exercise program that gives you the tools in those moments to start noticing where you're weakening, noticing where you're feeling frustrated or overthinking, and have a way to strengthen and grow as you go is a game changer because that's
Wow.
honestly what's needed most in this world.
So why, Dr. Jill, did you name it the BioCode?
So the word biocode, bio means life. It's the life code. And it's composed of 5 different components, 5 different exercises that are used interchangeably. And
Okay.
the whole concept of this program is for somebody to learn how to accept 100% responsibility for how they're showing up, regardless of the moment, regardless of the challenge or the situation, regardless of somebody else's behavior. Because what it teaches us is that our problems in life, everybody has problems. Nobody's going to be excluded from that. We live in a world where problems exist all day, every day. And if we took a magic wand and removed all your problems, every single one of them, by noon tomorrow, that list would be filled up again. Because what I'm here to tell you is that our problems are really not the problem. Problems are a part of life. What's the bigger problem is us in it, that we never learned the skill sets to learn how to meet problems from a place of strength. The issues aren't the issues, it's how we're approaching issues are the bigger issues that we have. And the BioCode system gives you a practice to shine the light on yourself to see where you can't do these exercises so you could flex those muscles and get stronger to be able to meet life's moments.
I can totally see what you mean. Like, we should have learned this from day one as children. I mean, some are fortunate enough to learn some type of skills, but to actually know, hey, things are going to go bad and there's ways to respond to this. I love that, the life code. So, Dr. Jill, when you're going through a journey like this and you're applying the techniques that you have really honed in on with the biocode, what do you have to say to people who are piecing their lives together? Certainly, all around the world, this is a global show. All around the world, no one is unscathed due to events that are going on with the pandemic and such. And people are just realizing, wow, I need new skills, or I need to refine my skills so that I can respond to these things, because this reactionary aspect is not working. What do you have to say to those individuals?
Well, you know what? We're all always exposed to problems and challenges and stuff. Like right now, the times are very hard. I mean, we're living in moments that nobody asked for, nobody wanted, nobody's enjoying this. It's a global pandemic, and we're not individually able to truly change that. But what we can change is how we're relating to it, how we're showing up to meet those moments. Because in moments like that, we can hold our breath, hope and pray that one day it's going to go away and then we're going to be fine. Or we could start to notice where our thoughts are overthinking, where our emotions are getting weaker, where our conversations are starting to get a little more negative, where we're having an inability to adapt to change and move our life forward without bringing all these worries and disappointments with us, these skills will change their life forever, no matter what's going on around them. These skills are personal. It's personal leadership. It's all about you. And when you learn it and you get stronger, you become stronger than your stress, no matter what that stress is.
Wow, that's so powerful. It starts with you. Everybody says that, but then you go, okay, what do I do next? Now, you mentioned that this is something that should be taught to everyone. Your children were quite young when Danny was diagnosed with cancer. Um, were you teaching them also these techniques in the biocode? Is that were you sharing with them? How were they coping?
Well, you know what? That's such a good question because from the time that Danny got diagnosed to the time when this actually turned into a system was an enormous amount of years. So my kids are the biocodes. I mean, the whole thing was birthed and within their childhood, within their life. And you know what? We're very, very, very fortunate because when this happened, you know, people would come into our house and Danny and I decided very early on that we're still going to be great role models. We're still going to be great parents. Our kids are going to have a normal life, and we're not going to hyper focus on this. As a matter of fact, I don't share this very often, but I will, that they were too young to understand the severity of what was going on. So we told them that when Daddy was playing basketball, he fell down and he got a bump on his head. And that's how, that's what we're working on, is helping him heal the bump on his head. And my husband is a musician also. He's a chiropractor, but he's also a musician. And he even wrote a song, That's How I Got This Bump on My Head. And it's a story about the evolution of what he had to go through physically and emotionally to heal these parts of himself, to get to the aspects of where he is, you know, today and in those moments. So yeah, my kids are the biocodes. You know, they don't need the biocodes. They're the walking, talking, living examples of the most impeccable, kind, loving behavior, because that is what we modeled to them early on. So when you walked into my home back in the day, the music was going, the kids were playing, there was friends all around, the counters was filled with fresh fruits and vegetables, and life was life while we were dealing with really serious things and trying to figure it
Wow.
out.
So you were elevating the mood, you were bringing joy. Your children are literally the first test subjects. Like you said, they are the biocode. We did have a question, Dr. Jill, that popped up by Al Chan. Hi, Al. And he believes, oh, here it is. What happens if the problem is external factor caused by others and it will cost us an exorbitant amount of money?
Okay, that's a really, really great question because there's so many things outside of ourselves that are out of our control, right? And
Yes.
we can't change so many. We can't do anything about that. But we can learn how, and this is a system, this is a practice, this is not something just in theory. This is the do. This is the how do you do it. We all know what to do. We just don't know how to do it. So in a moment like you're talking about, the biocodes would teach you, number one, how to approach that problem, that person, that problematic situation from such a place of strength and clarity. So you could learn how to have an effective conversation, how to navigate towards or away from that situation, how to rebound rapidly if something like that doesn't go according to plan, knowing that you're going to move forward and where you're going is going to be far greater than that moment, because you, my friend, are born to succeed. That's your birthright. You're born to succeed. You're born to excel. You're born to become bigger, better, greater, stronger. Nobody on the outside is going to change that path for you. That's your birthright. That's the essence that lives within you. So yeah, the circumstance might not be okay, for sure, and it's hard, but you're going to be okay anyway. That I know for sure.
Oh, did you get that, Al? You are going to be okay. Wow. Thank you so much, Dr. Jill. You know, it's always so great when we're on this platform that people pop in questions because we get real answers. And as you know, those who are watching Dr. Jill, she does have quite a lot of information that she wants to share with you. Dr. Jill, I wanted to ask you a couple of other questions about this situation. You were talking about how you had music going, kids were playing. Yeah, dad had the bump on the head issue, which we know was the cancer, and you were still trying to find solutions. Where did this stem from with you? You became a chiropractor in 1983. There weren't a lot of female chiropractors even back then. And like we said, your husband didn't become a chiropractor until 10 years later because he was inspired by the work, your life's work. It was a calling. How did that calling pull from you? Was your essence always to heal?
Definitely. I mean, I believe that we're all being led, whether we realize it or not. And most of these things that I was led into, including this global movement we're going to talk about in a little while, usually I get pulled into it. And then I'm the last to know, like, oh, wait, you're about to do something big. You're about to do something great. It's not that I raise my hand and say, like, I think I want to do this, or I think I want to create a program, a behavioral skill set program that should be the behavioral standard for the world, for sure. That I know for sure. Everyone should know these 5 codes and how to navigate these moments. But I never raised my hand and said, I want to do that. But when the calling came and the opportunity came or the crisis came, I always led with yes. Okay, I'm going to take it on. I'm going to do that. And I think that, different people are built for different things. We all have a mission and a vision and a message and a purpose that lives within us. And mine always, I could think back to when I was a little kid, has always been around health and healing. It has always been for the betterment of the world. I'm a vegan, I'm the Mother Teresa, save the animals, take out the flies. You know what I mean? I was born that way. And it's not that I came from a family like that, but it's the character of my soul. It's the seeds that live within my soul that were meant for moments like this. So yeah, I didn't actually plan any of these things in my life, but when the challenge came or the opportunity or the situation came, if it's something that's going to be good, if it's going to be for the betterment of life or humanity, I will say yes, and I'll do the work. And I work really hard at that. And that's where it came from. The biocodes didn't just birth in that moment. It took years to figure out, like, what was I doing? What actually happened? What were those formulas that I was doing? It took 2.5 years to start to consolidate these formulas, we were calling it back then, and categorize and subcategorize and categorize and subcategorize until it was broken down into 5 categories, and it couldn't be broken down anymore. And I remember that day and I looked at it and I was like, oh my God, I think I cracked the code on human behavior while under stress. Let's try it out. And then we started to try it out, and the answers were there again and again and again. And then we brought it into the corporate world and used it as a leadership tool. And one by one, all the leaders were like, why didn't we know this so many years ago? Because we learned academic intelligence, but who's teaching us? We need both behavioral intelligence. And that is needed most because we have so much of this, but we have very little of that.
Wow. Thank you so much. It's so comprehensive of the journey of how you're describing it. No, you didn't just wake up and say, hey, let's create the biocode from, let's cobble this and that. It really was the journey that you came from. I love showcasing that because a lot of times people feel within them that they should have all the answers right away. And we're going to get into that because I think that's a good segue for everything is right about you. Don't you think, Dr. Jill?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, before we do that, Dr. Jill, I wanted to discuss about why we are in such alignment here, not only in Ignite Your Essence, but also in the Los Angeles Tribune. The Los Angeles Tribune has always been about representing what is going on in the United States, but more importantly, why and how we can come together as a community. But before we go on with what we're talking about with Dr. Jill, I wanted to touch on where the Los Angeles Tribune is going now, with under the helm of our CEO, Mo Rock, and Dr. Natalie, who is also our COO. They are adding to a really powerful tradition of the Los Angeles Tribune. And before we go on with that, why don't we learn a little more about that tradition?
Hello and welcome to the Los Angeles Tribune. Since 1886, our name has been a part of the world of journalism. We've earned a reputation for being a publication that practices integrity, authenticity, and responsibility. For general inquiries, contact today. Thank you on behalf of the Los Angeles Tribune team.
And we're back with Dr. Jill Kahn, and we're going to talk about how everything is right about you. So, Dr. Jill, we just talked about the Los Angeles Tribune, and you saw we were talking about integrity. We're talking about all of the aspects that are in such alignment with who you are today. Now, we were talking about your journey and how a lot of times people think, wow, I don't know if I could do what she just did because I don't have those skills. And you were saying, oh, no. This started before. This started way before even I went to chiropractor school, way before I became a holistic doctor. Dr. Jill, can you explain to us what the genesis was for Everything is Right About You?
Oh, yes. I am so excited about talking about this because it was an unexpected surprise. I found out about an app called Clubhouse, and it's a learning platform. It's an audio drop-in platform that's all about learning. And when I first came on that platform, I was like a little bit like, wait a minute, what is this? There's all these like rooms, which are kind of like classrooms and hallways, and anybody could open up these rooms, and people from all over the globe would come in and out of these rooms, but nobody had to stay. And I started to notice, like, okay, you have access to the entire world when used properly. If used properly, if somebody really could lock into this could be used to change the world in the best way possible. So I decided that I was going to open up a room in this Clubhouse. And I thought very long and hard, because if I'm going to put my time and my talent, and I do have mad skills in these areas, that I'm going to only do something if it's going to be for the betterment of humanity, or I'm not going to volunteer my time and give back. So I decided to come up with a room, Michelle, called What Went Right Today. What went right today?
I remember that room. I actually have been in that room. What went right?
Yes,
okay.
Because where your mind goes, your life grows. And whatever you focus on, you attract and crave more of the same. So I was like, if I could help people retrain their brain to get it off of what's wrong, because we live in a world that's filled with negativity and negative bias, and start to pull those motor neurons, right? Those neural pathways to this side to start to see what's right, we can actually provoke change. So in that room, people would come, and they didn't even know what to do with me at first. I'm like saying, okay, so what went right today? And then somebody would respond. And no matter what they said, they could have had the worst day possible. I would praise them and tell them that that everything was right about that, whatever that was, because if they were tired, everything's right about listening to your body and taking the rest that you need. If something was transitioning and they lost their job, everything's right about that, because then they're going to pivot to something else. So no matter what it was, I was making it right. And one day there was a young gentleman, college age student, in the club, and it was his turn. And he was saying, oh, what went right? And he said whatever he said. And this is a young man who was working on self-acceptance challenges within himself. He was trying to come to grips with himself and many things about himself. And I became very fast friends with this beautiful soul that I loved so much. And he shared, like everybody was sharing, whatever went right that day. And immediately I started to praise him. And I said, well, of course, all those things went right for you. And I was just rambling. I go, because you're good, you're kind, you're wonderful, you're amazing, you're compassionate, you're incredible. And I just started like really, really going for it. And I said to him, and I go, you know why all those good things are happening to you and through you? And I paused. And out of my mouth came, because everything's right about you. Every single thing is right about you. And the young man went like this. he gasped and he goes, Dr. Jill, when you said that, I literally felt it in my soul. And I knew in that moment we were onto something. And I started to do that to each person in the room, and they all were feeling that. So then I went and I put this little ring around my picture that said, everything is right about you. And before long, it started to spread and go viral. And then it turned into literally a global movement that is now working in some of the most underserved areas in the world to remind people that no matter what you're going through, no matter what you've been through, no matter where you want to be by now, every single thing is right about you. You are the right person to do hard things and to meet these moments. You are made for these moments, that your experiences and your past never defined you, ever. It's just things that you're dealing with. So it turned into this beautiful global movement that's helping so many schools and so many children in the United States, out of the United States. It went global, and it hasn't been that long. So it's so beautiful to see that people are starting to see that they are not the stress of their life. They are not their childhood experiences. They are perfect simply because they exist. Period. Everything is right about you, Michelle. Everything's right about me, and everything's right about each and every person. Our circumstance may not be okay, but we are the right person to take it on. We could do hard things. We could do easy things. We could do big things. We could do all the things because we're the right person for that moment.
Oh my goodness. I love how you said that. And when you told me everything was right about me, I was like, oh, I felt it in my toes. That's so fascinating because you said in underserved communities in our country, as well as for children outside of our country, they need to hear these messages because a lot of times we just focus as humanity on what we don't have. And that keeps people from moving out of their situation. You talked about the biocode. Now, everything is right about you. So you mentioned in our nation that children are learning about this. Could you expound on this? How are they learning? Is there an event? What's going on here?
So beautiful. Honestly, it's so beautiful. So many of these things have been like grassroots stuff that just started coming to us, and we're kind of going with what's in front of us. And we're partnering with the Miracle Morning and the Pause, Breathe, and Reflect movement. And now we're going into many different areas. We're helping in Tolan, Ghana, West Africa, a village where there are more street children than anywhere else in the world, meaning these kids don't have a home, they don't have food on the table, they can't afford any or get into any education. And the movement has already raised in months like $10,000. These kids, it costs $135 to put a kid through school for their school supplies, a meal a day, and an Everything's Right About You t-shirt. So now we've raised $10,000 to put these kids through school, and now they're praising each other. They're all affirming. You can go on the Everything Is Right website and hear the beautiful kids in Ghana going, everything is right about you, and everything is right about you.
Oh.
Self-confidence and self-esteem is one of the most important foundations for learning, for manifesting in life, for navigating challenging. We have to believe that we're the right person to be able to do this. And we live in a world where most people think everything's wrong about them, that something has to happen. I have to lose the weight. I have to meet the soulmate. I have to get the right job in order for me to be okay. You know what? Everything's right about you while you're figuring out all of those things.
Oh my goodness. I'm getting it. I'm totally getting how it's like a mantra. Like in India, it's something that you say and you just become. And to hear those children in Ghana saying, hey, guess what? Everything is right about you, instead of bullying the kids. And because that's what bullies do. They try to point out what's wrong with somebody. And you're like, yeah, let's go this way. Everything is right about you.
We're the opposite of the bullying. Inclusive, equality, universal love, kindness, that every person on this planet, I don't care, north, east, south, west, I don't care who you love, where you live, how much money you have, the color of your skin, anything. You know what? Everything's right about every single person on this planet. And they have whatever it takes to meet those moments that they were given to take life on. And that's what this movement is about. It's about we're all equal. We're all created equally different, and everything's right about that. Every single thing is right about that. And when we start to spread such a message of kindness and love and respect for all humanity, this is what the world, Michelle, is calling for right now. You know, we live in a world right
Absolutely.
now where there's more division than ever before. There's more fear-based mentality than ever before. And I believe that this movement has moved so much because it's filling a void. It's really filling a void that people are craving positivity. They're craving universal love. They're craving what's right within ourselves, what's right within humanity, what's right within this world, because they're so filled with so much fear that that's not our nature. Is to live in a place of fear and worry and lack. Our nature is to thrive, like all of nature thrives. We're born to grow, right? So this movement, I believe, took off so wildly because the world is ready for it. The world is ready, and we're excited. We want to bring it into every school. We want all the kids to decorate and elevate their rooms at home with. Could you imagine if you were a little kid and you were struggling with your math, and your mom said to you, you know what? You might be having a struggle with math, but everything's still right about you. You could do hard things.
Oh, I wish I had that as a kid.
Everybody wishes they had that. And that's the philosophy. It doesn't mean everything's right about the situation. It just means that it's encouraging you that everything's right about you. You are smart. You are great. You are wonderful. You are loving. You are compassionate. You are good. You are inclusive. And you could do all the things. You got to just work hard at it, but you can have a great life no matter who you are in this world.
Wow. Now you mentioned about raising funds like $10,000 for children in Ghana. Was this an actual organization, or did you give it to the government? How was everything given to these children, and
Well,
how are they moving forward with it?
I met a beautiful soul on Clubhouse, Dr. Renee Campbell, who has a nonprofit organization called Phoenix Global Humanitarian.org. And they were already working in that village to help the children. And then she came into the What Went Right Today room on Clubhouse, and she told us what was going on. And immediately there was a call to action in the whole community of thousands. Now, you know how many people are following this movement now, just started to show up and open rooms to support fundraising, to support these kids. And 100% of the money, 100% goes directly to the children for their education. We don't take one penny, and she doesn't take one penny.
Wow. So directly it went to those children, 10,000. How many children are taken care of? How do you know? Because sounds like you have a really good partnership with.
Yeah, it's her organization, and we just showed up to support and to encourage the children, and to help her. It's all done through her. I'm not even a part. The only part that I'm a part of is the everything is right about you part of it. And one of the things that we did, which is so powerful in this village, is instead of us making that, because we have apparel, we have hats that says everything is right about you. We have all kinds of things and posters and ways to stickers that go on mirrors. So when kids look in the mirror, they see the frame, everything is right about you. We have an app coming out. But what we did, instead of them going through us in the United States, she hired people in the village to make the t-shirts. So all the money went back into the village as well. So the kids profited from the statements and the affirmations and so forth. And then the village got to be supported to have a job, because they need the money, right? That area there, they desperately need the money and the income and the job and the opportunity. So there's such a win-win-win thing that's going on with this movement. And we've also are bringing it into a Title I school. It's going to be the first pilot where Anisha Jacko, the principal of the school in Queens, is bringing it to
Queens, New York.
Yep, Queens, New York.
Woo!
We're going to deck out the entire school with the Miracle Morning, which is a practice to wake up to your full potential and pour into yourself. And they're going to have affirmations, and we're going to have the everything is right about you posters, banners. There's going to be a flag outside of the school to show the community that these people in the school believe in the potential of the children, no matter whether they go to a homeless shelter at night, everything's still right about them. Whether they have that meal that night or not, everything's still right about them. Whether they have money, they don't have money, whether their parents are present or not, everything's still right about them. And this school is pouring such confidence and such love into these children. It's breathtaking. That's going to be the first pilot of many. Like I said, partnered with Brianna Greenspan from the Miracle Morning and Michael O'Brien with the Pause, Breathe, and Reflect movement.
I can see collaboration happening
Oh, yeah.
here. And so here you are, you create this movement, and clearly you've ignited individuals to not only find what's good in them, Dr. Jill, but clearly you're helping them to get activated to be a part of the solution to help others. And so I can see this happening. If anyone is watching this right now and has an organization that you feel that you would love to connect with Dr. Jill, please check out everythingisright.com so that you can connect with it. And did you hear that? That merch that actually is creating a sustainable symbiosis, basically, right? And this, the mugs too. And so the adults are able to be part of this movement, not just the children. And it's just this beautiful ecosystem of everything is right about you. It makes me, I'm going to have to go to the website and get some of that merch, because 100% of the proceeds go there, right, Dr. Jill?
Yes. And the beautiful thing about this movement is, I promise you, it's not about me. It's not about Brianna, and it's not about
That's
Michael.
true. Because when I heard about the movement, Dr. Jill, I wanted to find out more about you. And all that was out there was about the movement.
It's the movement, because if you take a few people, right, the opportunity came through us, but if you take a few people that do a lot, you really can't go far. But when you have a lot of people like we do in our community that are doing a little, you could change the world. And we have a lot of people that are showing up, that are volunteering their time and their talent and their gifts, and they're helping. It's all, people are volunteering like crazy. People are saying, I could kick open this door and I can help with this, or I have a connection here. And it's really a collective effort right now of a lot of people that are showing up, doing a little bit to really keep this flowing so organically and naturally.
So for people who don't exactly understand how things are divided in education, what exactly is a Title I school? It sounds like the children don't exactly come from a lot of privilege. Is that true?
No. A Title I school means, like, with this idea of the haves and the have-nots, in an area where it's a little more underserved, right? Where there's not as much, the zip code, there's not a lot of money in there. There's generational poverty. There's a lot of challenges and issues in areas like this. And they don't have as much opportunity as somebody in another zip code. So when you go into a Title I school where really they don't have the privileges, they don't have the opportunity, they don't have the resources as so many other areas of education, which absolutely I am against that. Everybody should have equal education, equal opportunity. We have to go to where the weakest links are first, because first of all the children are all of our children. And if one kid's starving, we're all starving. If one kid's suffering, we're all suffering. And we have to start to shore up the weakest links, because a chain is only as strong as those weakest links, right? And when you start at that level, like the Title I level, and you start to really help those kids and really shore it up, we all go up together. So I'm all about helping areas like that. I'm all about helping anyone and everyone, of course, but by going into an area like that, that's going to give these kids such opportunity to believe in themselves, to be strong leaders, to know that everything's right about them, even when their circumstances are so not right. And it's really going to make a difference in this world, because I promise you, self-confidence is everything. Self-belief that you are the right person to do hard things and big things, and to be able to lead the world and be a change maker, even if you're in a circumstance like that. It's okay. It's going to help you to be a stronger person.
Oh my goodness, that's so amazing. Yes, once again, everything is right about you. You become a change maker. It doesn't matter where you come from. It sounds so simplistic, but it really isn't. And it's so, but yet it's something that we can all hold on to and just know, hey, everything is right about you. Oh, we have Mo Rocket. He mentioned a comment. If one children is starving, we are starving. Wow, I agree. Thank you, Dr. Jill, and thank you, Michelle, for shining a light on you. Thank you, Mo. We had a question here, Dr. Jill, that I wanted to see if you could address, and because I think it fits in what we're talking about, is by Gabby Rodriguez. If we can pop that question up, can somebody find that, or maybe I can get there. Ah, here we go. Evilise Cologne. How can someone access the frames and graphics to put on the bulletin boards that you were speaking about?
Oh, I love that. So first of all, you can go to everythingisright.com, and we're putting together packages right now to elevate environment. So if you want to elevate your kids' room, there's going to be a package for that. If you want to bring it into your kids' school, you could buy and purchase a package for that. And there's going to be the posters and the stickers on the mirror, and there's going to be a flag, there's t-shirts, there's all the things. So you can go to everythingisright.com, and we're about to this week add packages that people could buy and do it at a grassroots level. And then we're also working with the school systems to do it a little bit more on a larger scale level. But yeah, just go to the site. I mean, yes. Some people honestly have just went to my Instagram, Dr. Jill Kahn, Dr. Jill Kahn, and they printed out. There's a Facebook group, Everything Is Right About You group. Go there. We post pictures and things all the time. So it's one beautiful teacher who's been part of this, like on on the sidelines over here. She in Michigan has a billboard outside of her school, and she took all the Miracle Morning coloring books, the Art of Affirmation coloring book by Brianna Greenspan, and all these positive affirmations. She made a big billboard with Everything Is Right About You pictures she printed just from my Instagram.
I want to see that.
And people are just doing it. When the app comes out, there's going to be positive affirmations that people could send to each other, all this kind of messaging. And there's going to be a camera in there with the frame that looks like kind of like this, that says Everything Is Right About You. And you could put the person's picture in the middle, and then you could start sending these frames everywhere, and teachers could make billboards and put all the kids' frames on that. You could send it to friends, to family, to people, and we could start to elevate humanity. How would it feel for somebody to send you your picture with a frame that says Everything Is Right About You, just because this is the acts of kindness that we want to see in this world. We want to see people lifting other people up, elevating.
And it's beyond branding, isn't it? It's totally beyond. Oh, we have the question here. Gabby Rodriguez, how do you cope with everyday negative vibes? How can we keep calm and keep going? Meditation, mantras, etc.
I love that.
What do you have to say? What say you, Dr. Jill?
I am a firm believer for how you show up to any moment is 100% your responsibility, period. So just because somebody's negative doesn't mean you have to be negative. And if you think about a fragrance, like a flower that gives off a fragrance, it's a fragrance, whether it's in a crappy situation or it's in a kind situation, it doesn't change what it gives off. And when you learn personal leadership, you say, I want to influence situations by staying positive, by being kind, by being compassionate, by deciding how I want to show up in harder moments. That represents me. That's what I can do. I can't change that environment, but I can change the way I'm showing up in that environment. And the truth is, if you were a fragrance in a kind of crappy situation, if I walked in with essential oils on me, it would be impossible for you not to smell it. So you will influence, put out kindness, put out compassion, put out love, and put out tolerance. Because if somebody's negative, I promise you, it's not because they're mean or nasty or they want to be that way. It's because there's an inherent weakness in them and they don't know how to meet those moments and they're very stressed out. So when we start to look at negativity as weakness, like muscle weakness instead of meanness, You'll approach it with kindness and compassion, just like if someone hurt their back and they fell, you go, "Are you okay?" If you see people who are negative, remember it's because they're weak, because they don't have these skill sets. So let's be even kinder to them. Let's be even more
Wow.
loving and more patient with them, as opposed to judgmental and tell them how they should act. Show them what kindness looks like. Show them what compassion looks like by how you're behaving in it. Then we could change the world.
Wow. Thank you, Dr. Jill and Gabby. What an amazing answer Dr. Jill gave us. So we have another question, Dr. Jill. It just popped up. Can we pop that up again? It's called the big question. And well, until we have that there. Oh, here we go. Dr. Jill, we ask everyone here who is on Ignite Your Essence, and now we're going to ask you, how do we make the world work for 100% of humanity in the shortest possible time through spontaneous cooperation without ecological damage or disadvantage? That is a question posed by R. Buckminster Fuller, also known as Bucky Fuller. Could you give us an answer, Dr. Jill?
I love that. I mean, that's everything that I stand for right there, is kindness for all. Kindness for ourselves, kindness for each other, kindness for the planet, equality for all. I mean, that's my whole mission. It always has been in my life. And the way that you can do that in the quickest way possible is start with yourself. Because if we're all like cells in a body, you have to work on yourself first. And how well you do that is going to influence the cells around you, or the selves around you. It all starts with you. So if you want to make a change in the world, and you want to see the world a kinder, more compassionate place, think about this. Are you kind to yourself? Are you kind to your family? Are you kind to your neighbors? Are you kind to your community? And if you can't do it at home, I promise you can't do it on a global level. It all starts by how you're showing up in your life, as you, in your day-to-day life, and work from here out. Then you can make a world of difference. That's how you change the world. One person at a time, accepting radical responsibility for their life, and let that turn into a ripple effect and start to flood out there by example to the world.
Wow. And that's what you did, didn't you, Dr. Dill, in your own life, which is why Everything Is Right About You happened, which is why BioCode happened, which is why you were able to assist your husband to heal himself from cancer that they said would only make him live a few years. You have actually lived it. Dr. Jill, I want to kind of go back though. We talked about all the things that people can get. You have an app coming out that you can get banners for pictures that Everything Is Right About You. You can create your own movement in your own area. Mm-hmm. It's more than branding, isn't it? It's more than branding. Could you kind of tell us what the neurological mindset aspect of it, to see all of these aspects of Everything Is Right About You and this type of messaging? Mm-hmm. I think people would like to know that.
We're all good by nature. We're born good. We're born pure, whole, complete, positive. We come into the world that way. And the only thing that's wrong with us is the belief that something is wrong with us, that we were so programmed to beat ourselves up, put ourselves down, make ourselves less. And none of that is true. You know, we got taught from a very young age that take this test, and I'm going to show you what you missed, and I'm going to mark it in red, and here's what's wrong, and you got to correct that to be right. And what we started to do at a very young age is we personalized it. Instead of thinking about that's something I need to learn, we started to put ourselves down. Oh, I failed the test. Something's wrong with me. I can't learn. And we started to deplete and diminish the self-confidence and self-esteem. We got to turn that around. We got to turn that around. That's a mismessage. It's not true. We are born pure, whole, and complete. Everything is right about us. Always has been, always will be. And as we're learning, as we're growing, as we're figuring things out along the way, we must never, pay attention to me, listen to me, every person out there, never lower yourself to the level of the problem. Ever. Don't diminish yourself to the level of the problem. You stay strong and true that you are the right person. Hold that confidence. Let the problem rise to you as you start to solve it. Never lower yourself to the level of the problem. That's not who you are. Everything is right about you.
Oh my gosh, beautiful, Dr. Jill. And Michelle Wilson said she was touched here. Kindness all starts with me. Instead, if judging negative people, ask them if they're okay instead. Profound. Thank you, Dr. Jill. You know, it's so fascinating because a lot of times when people hear you're a sought after motivational speaker, and a lot of times people think, well, why do we need the motivation all the time? Rah, rah. But this is beyond that. You are really helping people tap into the center of who they are, knowing that everything's right about them, to be a part of the change, as you said. It's so beautiful. And as Gabby Rodriguez said, join our community on Facebook Ignite. We're talking about here, but also make sure you join the Everything is Right About You movement with Dr. Jill Kahn. Dr. Jill, as we go through this journey of explaining about your life and the evolution of how these things happened, what can you say to folks who are actually moving forward and they're very positive and they're going, yeah, everything's right about me. But what happens when something goes really, really wrong and they feel like they've kind of gotten sad, they maybe got mad, they got depressed? How do they get back into that mode that everything is right about them again?
So just remember, I'm not saying everything is right about every circumstance, because clearly it is not. There's so many things that are not right about the circumstances that we're dealing with and that we're going through in our life. What I'm saying is you're the right person in the right time, in that right moment, to be able to learn how to take that on. You know, it's like, when you think about like toxic positivity, like, well, everything can't be right. This is not sunshine, rainbows, and lollipops. This is saying that you have what it takes to do hard things. You have what it takes to meet the moments that were given to you, and the radical acceptance of that, to see life as it is, not as you think it should have been, could have been, would have been, is really a skill set, so you could meet those moments without trying to manipulate it as if it shouldn't be there. It is what it is. And I don't think that toxic positivity is what this is, or what the big problem in the world is. It's tolerant negativity. That's what the big problem is, that we have been so hard on ourselves, so hard on each other. We have learned to live in a negative world, to think like this is just normal. This is just the way that it is. Well, it really, really isn't. We have to flip that around. And instead of looking with our mind's eye for seeing that negative bias, which is rampant out there, we got to start to see the positive, the possibility, the opportunity to grow and to learn and to strengthen in all the moments. The good, the bad, and the ugly, all the moments are here to help us when we take it on with confidence, with mental clarity, with stability and objectivity. And that's what we're saying, that everything is right about you to meet these moments and start to figure out, how do I take it on from here?
Yes. Oh my goodness. That is more of an answer than I thought was going to come from you. And it was just perfect because, you know, of course, everything's right about you. But what I found, what did you say again? I would like to repeat that. So it's not toxic positivity. It's negativity and tolerance. Is that what you called it?
It's tolerant negativity. That we have accepted our life, that this is just life. This is just the way that it is. This is what's required in the workforce. This is just raising children. No, we have tolerated negativity, and that we're so numb to it that we think that this is just normal. It is absolutely not normal. You know, if you look at statistics, Michelle, go to the American Institute of Stress, 80% of the world, 80% of the world is experiencing stress, chronic stress, 80% on a daily basis. That's the epidemic. That's the problem that we're facing, because people don't know how to empower themselves to do hard things and meet hard moments and figure out things along the way. They're melting in life. They are literally melting in life. And we got to turn that around. We got to encourage people and empower them to say, like, you know what? Your life may be hard. I'm not saying that it's not hard, but you know what? You could do hard things. You could do easy things. You could do great things. You could do little things. You could do all the things because you're the right person for that moment. And you got to believe in yourself. You got to believe that you can. And I promise you, if you believe that you can, you're going to take that next right step forward.
If you believe you can, you're going to take that right step forward. Wow. You know, it's so funny because this is why the movement's so needed. This is not common thinking. This is not like, oh, something happened. Great. Let's find out what's right about it. Let's shift that. Let's get it to work. And this is why your work, Dr. Jill, is so important. Not only are you so sharp, you're so sharp and compassionate, and you really want people to elevate themselves and elevate others, but also too, you understand that there is actually a process. And if you just, and anyone can tap into this process, but it starts with some of the smallest things. Isn't it fascinating? Because like the biggest things are created from small things, right? So everything is right about you. Just even saying that to yourself can actually make a difference, and then you can do the work. Correct?
I've had people who put that little ring around their profile picture, who are struggling, who look at that, and just seeing that everything is right about me helps them to remind them that maybe everything is right about me. It's so absolute. What it's doing, it's replacing the I am enough. I don't even know what that means, as if you ever could be not enough. You're 100% of you. You're always enough. You're all of you, and to think that you could ever be less than is impossible. Everything, I mean, everything, absolute 100% is right about you. You are born that way. You are born onto this planet to do the things that you're supposed to do in the moments that you are given. And you can do that. You absolutely can do that. So yes, everything is right about you as you start to navigate these experiences and these hard things and life.
You know, Dr. Jill, I just can't tell you. We could go on and on about this because there's so much to unpack. And yet your message is so consistent. It's so consistent. And it's something that I feel is so necessary. Julianne Kahn, I think you may know this person, is feeling inspired. That's good because, a lot of times relatives are not inspired with things that we are inspired about. So it goes to show that Dr. Jill Kahn here is really living and walking the walk, as we say. I can't tell you how many viewers are coming in and saying so many amazing comments. Iris Kavanaugh said, so good. It takes so little effort to be kind when we decide to. There are so many outpouring comments here, Dr. Jill, that you're absolutely right. We definitely need to know that everything is right about us. Because isn't that interesting? Mm-hmm. We're taught to be analytical thinkers, but then we start to be so critical to the point where we think, okay, I got this done, but what's wrong now? What do I need to tackle? And there's no joy. There's no celebration. I wish I could connect with you. I'm hoping, Dr. Jill, you'll come back again because a couple of interviews prior, we had Mr. Barry Shore, who is the ambassador of joy. And he was talking about how slaying stress is so important. You were saying, hey, was it 70%?
80%. 80. I think it's higher now. That was before the pandemic. So yeah, it's a problem. It's a problem.
80% people
we're solving that problem. We really are.
Yes, we're solving that problem. I love how you're saying that as well, because I remember reading an article that said that 50% of the things that we can die of in the nation, 50% of the things that we can die of, a big one is stress, are things that we can change in our lives. And now if you're saying that the biggest challenge in the top 80 percentile for everyone is the fact that everyone is stressful because they don't feel like they're enough, it sure brings home the important message here that we need to tap in. Please, everyone, go to everythingisright.com, connect with Dr. Jill Kahn, connect with her socials, connect with everything. Dr. Jill, I just wanted to thank you so much for bringing yourself and just igniting clearly with all the comments and the viewers, igniting in people what they truly want. And that is to help others, to know that they're okay, and to let everyone know they're okay, so we can be more successful in our life in all areas, correct? And perhaps even heal, as you mentioned, like with your husband. I still think that's an extraordinary message. And I just wanted to say to our viewers, joining Dr. Jill Kahn and myself. And I wanted to remind you to please make sure that you click onto all of the socials for the Los Angeles Tribune and also for Ignite Your Essence. Check us out on Facebook. Check us out on Instagram. We are also on YouTube. We want to connect with you. And don't forget to also pay attention to the credits that roll after, because our sister project, Leaders in Transformation, Lit Magazine, will be launching. And one of our guests, our very first guest, Dame Dora Cordova, is on the cover. Why are we saying that? Because we're purposeful. We're purposeful with this show because we want to ignite your essence and keep you lit so that you can be the best version of yourself. And like Dr. Jill said, we also need everyone to know that everything is right about you. And so with that, I want to thank you so much for coming and for listening and filling in. I still see comments coming in. I wish I could read them all. Thank you. Thank you for attending. And I want to remind you to always find reasons to smile. And of course, I want to bring back Dr. Jill, and I'm going to want to say goodbye. Thank you, Dr. Jill, for coming. We appreciate it. I can't wait to have you back. And of course, everyone, please remember that. What is it, Dr. Jill? What do we remember?
Everything. And I mean everything. And I mean every single thing is right about you.
Yes.
All of it.
Thank you. Bye.